And I want to thank you too for being so willing to change, because you didn't even know that was a topic until yesterday.
That's right, it's okay.
One thing you'll get to know about me is people say I'm a gypsy because my mother used to say I was a gypsy. She said I was left on the doorstep by gypsies because everybody in my family was very they did everything they were supposed to do. My sisters did everything the way my parents wanted them to do, and I did everything the opposite. And I was always on the move. Like nobody knew who I belonged to in the neighborhood. There was this kid wandering around, and people would say, "Who does she belong to? Like, what house does she live in?" Anyway, and so my sisters have had the same marriage, the same career, same house, lived in the same place. And then there's me. So it is Labor Day, and for some people, this is the beginning of fall, which is why I changed my topic, because I have the right to change, right? Women have the right to change things. So I decided to change my topic because I thought when I was growing up and when I was in school, to me, fall began Labor Day. A couple of reasons why. You couldn't wear white shoes anymore. Remember that rule? Couldn't wear white. And school began, which meant it was the end of fun and the beginning of hell. And I grew up in New Jersey. It also meant that fall was coming. Now, fall is my favorite season now, but then it was my least favorite season because I was such a pessimist and I was such a depressed kind of kid that all I could think about was, it's Labor Day. School starts, because school used to start right after Labor Day, and it means my life is over. Fall is just the season to get ready for winter. And winter, it's cold and snowy and miserable, and I got to put all those clothes on. I was so happy in summertime. Why couldn't it just stay summertime? And so I never enjoyed fall. And then winter would come, and of course I wouldn't enjoy winter, and I couldn't wait for spring. Because spring, not only did the weather get warmer, but because I never lived in the moment, I'd never even heard that concept about living in the now. I was already in summer again. So my whole life revolved around one season, summer. So, fall begins on September 22nd, but I always have thought of fall beginning with Labor Day. And so a lot of times, in church, you don't see a lot of people. Everybody's out for their last fling of summer before things get normal. But I don't know what it is. I really do think I have the blood of a gypsy because all my life I've changed. And so because I've lived in so many places, I have learned to love fall wherever I have been. And I have been in lots of different climates. So growing up, I grew up in New Jersey and I hated fall because it meant winter. So one year, I had the winter from hell. I had two children, 5 and 2, and the 5-year-old came down with scarlet fever and was quarantined. And while quarantine came down with chicken pox, and then his brother, the 2-year-old, came down with chicken pox. My husband wrecked my car. There was a blizzard, and I had cabin fever. Now, you're talking to someone who never liked winter, right? I never liked winter. I didn't like fall because of winter. So I remember seeing this movie, Midnight Cowboy. Has anyone seen that movie with Dustin Hoffman and John Voight? Beside the fact it's pretty depressing. It's a great movie. And there was a really popular song that came out of that movie. And the lyric to the song said, I'm going to go where the weather suits my clothes. Because they want to go to Miami. Because they just feel if they go to Miami, everything would be great. So I'm in this winter from hell. And I decide that the weather needs to suit my clothes. Not the clothes I'm wearing in wintertime, but the clothes I want to wear in summertime. So I decide that I need to go to Miami. And luckily, my sister decided to watch the kids while my husband went to work, and I went to Miami, and it was March. Now, how many people have been to Miami? So if you ever get a chance to go to Miami, and you can go any time of the year, you want to go in March. March is the epitome of perfect weather in Miami. No humidity, warm, breezy, balmy, perfect. I go down there and I'm like, there is another world. This place is unbelievable. So I come back and I go, we have to move to Miami. Now, my whole family is up north. My sisters, my father, everybody is up north. And my husband has a job up north. You know, life is up north. But I have decided I'm going to Miami because anybody knows that life will change if you do a geographical cure. Now, we know that's really not true. I found that out in recovery, that geographical cures are not the answer. But I'm going to Miami because life is better in Miami. So I get my husband to agree to move to Miami, and we go to Miami. Well, you know, there's a saying, wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are. Well, I'm in Miami, and it's warmer, but guess who's in Miami, too? Me. Because I haven't changed. I just changed where I lived. I haven't changed at all. I'm the same person. And Miami was a great place for someone who had addiction issues. Miami in the 70s and 80s was the place to be if you were like me. And so I went to Miami, and guess what? My life fell apart. I mean, it fell apart. I wound up getting divorced. My life totally fell apart in so many ways. And I look back at that, and my sisters who have normal lives, they're like normal people. They're just, I don't understand them at all. But anyway, I know we're related. My mother and father told me we were born, the same family, but you would never, and one of my sisters looks just like me, so I know we're related. But my sisters always say to me, don't you feel bad about that time in your life? Don't you regret that time in your life? Don't you wish? And I said, I don't regret that time at all, because that time brought the next change in my life. And that was getting in recovery, which brought me to unity, which brought me to my next change in life, which was meeting my husband and having all of that, which brought about the next change in life was moving to Central Florida. And when we had a retreat center. So, people say that the weather doesn't change in Miami. That's because you haven't lived in Miami. So in Miami, when it gets to be September, it is the time of the year when the weather is going to get less humid. This is a gift in Miami. This is a gift. And so even if it hasn't changed yet, it's going to change. So Miami, fall became one of my favorite times of the year after spring, because spring was amazing. Anyway, so we moved to Central Florida. Now in Central Florida, we lived outside of Gainesville. I don't know if you're familiar with Gainesville. What they're best known for are the Gators. It's like football insanity. So fall became the time where not only the weather cooled down, but all the crazies came out. I mean, they came out in the droves, and there was all this excitement and football and the Gators and the Gators and the Gators. It was like, and there's a reason they're called the Gators. It's because there's a lot of gators in Gainesville. Every lake has got gators in it. Anyway, so I really began to enjoy fall there. But then, life changes again. So one day I'm sitting in the retreat and I'm meditating, and we had a big meditation room, and I'm sitting in there and I hear apply to ministerial school. I'm like, what? I had just left my job in Miami, and we had this retreat center, and I'm like, apply to ministerial school? I can't apply to ministerial school. And then I thought, I must have heard somebody else's instruction. God was talking to over there, and it went right by me, and I heard it and thought it was meant for me. So I'm not going to pay any attention to this. And then I heard it again. And I'm like, it's the second time. Now, usually it's 3 times for me, because I'm very hard-headed, very stubborn and very hard-headed. So finally, the 3rd time I hear, apply to ministerial school. So I jump up off the cushion and I go, okay. So I said to my husband, guess what? I'm applying to ministerial school in Kansas City. Now, we have a retreat center in Florida, and it's 2 years in Kansas City. I'm going to Kansas City. So he says, you think that's a good idea? You know, you're the cook, you're the office person, you're the janitor, we have this big retreat center, what are we going to do? And I go, I don't know. But I know I'm supposed to apply. And I go, anyway, it didn't say to go to ministerial school. It said just apply to ministerial school. I said, I'm never going to get in. So I'm going to apply. There's some lesson I'm supposed to learn. So I applied, thinking, well, that's that. God, I applied. I hope you're happy. And then I get an invitation to go for an interview. So I think, oh, okay, well, I get to go to Unity Village again. If you have never been to Unity Village, you want to do this. This is something that will change your life. It is unbelievable. And so any excuse to go to Unity Village, I'm going to go for interviews. I go and I have lost my voice. Now, I am applying for ministerial school, and I don't have a voice. So anyway, I get in, and I get accepted, and now I'm living in Kansas City. So in Kansas City, the weather is very weird. It's not even like here. It's kind of like here, but it's, you know, every day changes. And one year, the leaves of the trees had not lost their leaves yet. I mean, the trees and all, it was October. And a snowstorm came. And what happened is the trees, the limbs started falling. And they fell on electric wires. So people were without electricity. And roads were blocked and everything. And what I realized is the trees lose their leaves in order to be able to handle the snow. You see, if we don't get to do the next thing until we let go of the last thing. You know, Jesus talked about it, and he said that you can't put new wine into old wineskins. And what that meant is the old wineskins were yucky, and they leaked. So when you poured new wine into them, all the wine came out. So when you were going to pour wine into these wineskins, you needed to make sure you had new wineskins. Well, that's what it is like in Unity with New Thought. We come to Unity and we get these new ideas and these new thinking. But in order for those ideas to really take hold, we have to let go of all the old ones. And that is not easy. You know, if you've been brought up to believe a certain thing and all of a sudden you're told God is love, and you've been brought up thinking God is a punishing God, and you think, well, God is love, but then sometimes life happens and you go, well, that doesn't seem very loving. You know, maybe the priest was right or the rabbi or somebody was right. So we have to get rid of that old thinking. That's why we do denials. We have to get rid of that old thinking, because just like the trees, we can't accept and bring part of us the new ideas of unity and new thought unless we get rid of the old stuff, because we can't handle the weight. We can't handle the weight. And so it was fascinating when I saw that, because I never thought about that. And I was at Unity Village, you know, so it was like perfect. So you would think I was at Unity Village, I graduated, I go back to where Vision Farms was, our retreat center, and I'm thinking, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I'm going to apply to some churches, but they have to be close enough that I can commute to this retreat center so I could be with my husband. Anyway, I got the church I didn't want. That goes to show you, you know, make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I told him my plans, and God had a really good laugh and put me where I'm supposed to be. Now I'm in Atlanta. So I'm in Atlanta, and Atlanta fall is great because it is the beginning of colder weather. And if you've ever spent a summer in Atlanta, you know why people are really grateful that the weather is going to change. And I'm there like 3 years, and then I get a calling to go to Savannah. So now I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I love fall in Savannah because all the festivals happen and the weather gets better. And if you ever want to go to a city that is beautiful, especially to walk on, you have to go to Savannah. It's one of the most beautiful walking cities in the United States. And the fall is just one of the best times. So fall has just got this whole history with me. Then, right, I leave Savannah and decide that we're going to live in a motorhome for 2 years, and we go all over the place. But I have to tell you, and then I wound up in California. Now, for the first time, I'm back here. But I have to tell you, of all the places I have lived, fall is my favorite here. There's nothing like New England fall. I was in Montreal last fall. I've been in a lot of places in the fall, but there's nothing like New England fall. And for the first time in my life, with all the changes, I am finally in a place I want to be at a time I want to be. And I'm scared to say that because often as soon as I say that, something happens and something changes. So yes, everything changes, everything changes. And it always fascinates me with people whose lives don't change. I don't understand how they do it. I really have tried a lot of times in my life to be like my family wanted me to be. And I don't know why, I just can't do it. And it's interesting. I don't take any medication at all. I don't any help. The only thing I have to take medication for is restless leg syndrome. Isn't it interesting? That the only thing wrong with me is restless leg. I think that's why I've been moving so much. I can't help it. It's my legs just keep moving me. So anyway, it changes something we all go through. But no matter how much we change the outside, it's the inside changes that matter the most. Until I changed something inside of me, it didn't matter where I moved. And that's the changes that count. That's what really matters. And so for me, unity is a great place to learn about that and to feel that and to see how we can start changing our thinking. And when we change our thinking, what happens? We change our life. And that's the only way we really change our life, is by changing our thinking. So I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and think about a time in your life when maybe you thought about changing something. Maybe it was a move. Maybe it was a marriage. Maybe it was a job. But you didn't work on your inside stuff. And when you made the change, you found out, the outside's changed, but nothing has really changed. You see, the only thing that we can truly have control over as far as change goes is our thinking. It is only through changing our thoughts that we can change our life. And so as we enter into this beautiful fall season, we remember to be like the trees and to remain open-minded so that we can let go of any thoughts, beliefs, attitudes that are keeping us from our highest good. Keeping us from a connection with God. And so we say, thank you, God, for the changes. Not the changes in the weather, but the changes within us. And for those, we are truly grateful. Thank you.